Good afternoon. My name is Judith Harrison, and I am the founder of Heart Path. And today I'm going to speak about courage. And I'll start with a little story from the book Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday. And it's the first chapter. The title is The Four Virtues. It was long ago now that Hercules came to the crossroads at a quiet intersection in the hills of Greece, in the shade of knobby pine trees. The great hero of Greek myth first met his destiny. Where exactly it was or when, no one knows. We hear of this moment in the stories of Socrates. We can see it captured in the most beautiful art of the Renaissance. We can feel this budding energy, his strapping muscles, and his anguish in the classic Bach cantata. If John Adams had had his way in 1776, Hercules at the crossroads would have been immortalized on the official seal of the newly founded United States. Because there, before the man's undying fame, before the 12 labors, before he changed the world, Hercules faced a crisis, one as life-changing and real as any of us have ever faced. Where was he headed? Where was he trying to go? That is the point of the story. Alone, unknown, unsure, Hercules, like so many, did not know. When the road diverged, where the road diverged lay a beautiful goddess who offered him every temptation he could imagine. Adorned in finery, she promised him a life of ease. She swore he'd never taste want or unhappiness or fear or pain. Follow her, she said, and his every desire would be fulfilled. On the other path stood a sterner goddess in a pure white robe. She made a quieter call. She promised no rewards except those that came as a result of hard work. It would be a long journey, she said. There would be sacrifice. There would be scary moments, but it was a journey fit for a god. It would make him the person his ancestors meant him to be. Was this real? Did it really happen? If it's only a legend, does it matter? Yes, because this is a story about us, about our dilemma, about our own crossroads. For Hercules, the choice was between vice and virtue, the easy way and the hard way, the well-trod path and the road less traveled. We all face this choice. Hesitating only for a second, Hercules chose the one that made all the difference. He chose virtue. And this is the road, the crossroads that we all face at different times in our life, but I would dare say now more than ever, and more of us than ever, are waking up to the reality that our life calls for something more, than what was sufficient up until recent times. Until recent times, go back as many decades as you want, we, in most of us, many of us in North America, in Canada, had a life of ease. And the life of ease has led to a road of tragedy. The tragedy of chaos, uncertainty, discouragement, frustration, confusion, anxiety, depression. Mental health crisis has never been at this all-time high that we find ourselves in right now. As a psychotherapist, I work with people of all walks of life and all ages. Many of my clients increasingly are our young people, high school students, university age students, floundering in the face of what future is there for them. And one of the things that I like is the understanding from Greg Braden and other scientific and measured experiments. We don't need everyone to change. Each one of us can bring about a change and affect everyone. In the background, the primary training of my clinical psychotherapy training is the idea that we are all interdigitating systems. And the power of that is to realize that if you change, everything and everyone around you will change. You have that power, not the power over others, but the power from within yourself to bring about the changes that matter to you. And in the process, the atmosphere, the texture, the environment, the relationships around you will absolutely be changed. Courage involves risk-taking, and yet courage is calling. Ethical living through the choices we make is an ongoing commitment to be renewed daily, sometimes hourly, as we meet life's day-to-day challenges and opportunities to assume risks in honor of self and others. One of my dear friends, Rabbi Hillel, says, if you are not for you, who will be? But if you're only for you, what are you? And he wraps it up by saying, if not now, then when? And the folks who crossed the threshold into my office for one-to-one work and sometimes for group work, they are the ones that have decided it is my time. If it is to be, it's up to me. To begin with, there can be no courage, says Derek Bell, without a context. Communication requires listening with no assumptions. And the context that Derek Bell is referring to here, this is the little book that I'm quoting from, Ethical Ambitions with Derek Bell. He talks about courage taking on meaning in the context of understanding or being aware of and gallantly facing the fears that we encounter in moving from one day to another in our life. He tells the story of a young boy who has a paper route, and he's 10 years old. He doesn't make lots of money from this paper route, but he's willing to do the work. However, along his route, there is a character called Lucky Babs. And Lucky Babs is kind of a bully. And every time our young hero encounters Lucky Babs wants some money from our hero. And our hero, because he's fearful, gives 10 cents here, a quarter there. He gives money because he's afraid that if he doesn't, Lucky Babs will beat him up. And then he even goes so far as to rationalize, make himself feel better about giving a few pennies, because he tells himself, Lucky Babs and people like him are never going to go anywhere great. And he knows that he is going somewhere of meaning, of value. So what's a few coins here and there? But as time goes on, he gets tired of giving away money to Lucky Babs or taking a very long, circuitous route to avoid Lucky Babs. So one day he says to himself, I'm done. I am fed up with this. And he decides to go directly along the path, knowing that he will undoubtedly meet Lucky Babs. And sure enough, he goes on that route. There's Lucky Babs. He takes a deep breath to strengthen his resolve. And he comes up to Lucky Babs and he says, squaring his shoulders, posture is very important, you know. Physical posture indeed gives us moral conviction, I would say. He says to Lucky Babs, I am not giving you any money today or ever again. I am tired of giving you my money. It's got to stop, and it stops now. Lucky Babs gives our little hero a big wallop in his arm and says, go away with you. I don't want your money. Carry on. And that was the end of it. Our hero faced his fear. And in so doing, he showed himself to be a person of the virtue we might call courage, or the courage we might call virtue. And so you see, courage can show in the midst of very small events or much bigger, larger, life-threatening encounters. But courage is calling, because to not respond in the face of those daily challenges or opportunities with courage means to live a life less than the greatness we're all called to be. And so in our upcoming block of a program I run called Heart Path, one of the themes that we're going to be working with is courage and ethical living. It is said that courage is our tool for vanquishing fear, but it's not an easy tool, and rarely is it glamorous. But we need to know why we do anything we choose. So goal setting, for example, is highly overworked as a concept and highly unsuccessful as a result, because I would assert that most of us have no idea why we are setting certain goals, other than they sound good, or we think somebody else wants us to, or it's the status symbol. That will not sustain us through our fears and through our days of fatigue, exhaustion, doubt, uncertainty. We need to know who we are. 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago, the Oracle of Delphi says, know thyself, and to thine own self be true. And I believe it was Socrates that said, a life unexamined is a life not worth living. In our work together, one-on-one, and in the Heart Path group, blocks of time that we form intentional community in and around and through, we work with the various experiences of each our own lives, and we form bonds of trust that create a sense of safety. And within that safety net, we can examine ourselves and be encouraged and inspired by others and their stories as they examine themselves. And so there is a multiplier effect that comes into play when we work as a group together over time as committed, intentional community. So that's what we do in Heart Path. And in the next 5-month block that we're coming up to, starting late summer, we're going to be peeling back the aspects of courage and looking at the fears that we face or have not faced, and grabbing the gauntlet of this virtue that we call courage and claiming back our sanity, our courage, our leadership. There's a great, what was it now? Is it in the beginning of Courage is Calling? Yes. Courage is Calling, Ryan Holiday. At the very beginning, let us not wait for other people to come to us and call upon us to do great deeds. Let us instead be the first to summon the rest to the path of honor. Show yourself to be the bravest of all the captains, with more of a right to leadership than those who are leaders at the present. By Xenophon. Maybe you'd like to know more about how we work together, building intentional community. Maybe you'd like more of your own greatness in your life. Maybe you would like to not have to figure it out on your own. It's a known fact that to grow in community is far more powerful than going it alone. So stay tuned. We will be having more information about Heart Path, and I'll be doing another recording or two about courage, and I hope you'll join me. Have a great day. Face your fear, find your courage, know your greatness, and rejoice.